and welcome to the Uncultured Nerd Show. My name is Maeve, and I am such an uncultured nerd who loves to rewind to my childhood through the medium of films. So far, we've watched some good, some bad, some heartwarming, and I have no idea which category this episode is going to fall into. It's historical, but also not, and is the rare non-Disney 2D animated film.
Balto.
That's right, for this episode, we are taking a look at Balto! Another VHS which was very overplayed in my household, and while I watched it a lot growing up, I don't remember a whole lot about it. Honestly, I remember more about the sequel. But over the years, I've started to see other reviewers take a look at this one, and it's made me want to check it out again to rekindle some memories and see if I was torturing my parents every time we put it on. I do see that there is some A-list talent here with Kevin Bacon, Bob Hoskins, Bridget Fonda, and Jim Cummings as the villain? Well, at least I know he'll be entertaining. So without further wasting time, let's dive into Balto with this episode's Unhinged Recap! This grandma has taken her granddaughter to see a statue in Central Park, and as they look at it, she tells the story behind it. In 1925, Nome, Alaska, there was a half-dog, half-wolf named Balto who wanted to be a sled dog but was shunned by the people of the town and all the other dogs led by the evil incarnate Steel because of his half-wolfness. Balto lives outside of town with a Russian goose and two polar bears who can't swim. His only friend in town is Jenna, who he also has romantic feelings for. Unfortunately, Jenna's owner Rosie and many other children get sick, and the only way to get the medicine is by sled dog. The town holds a race to pick the fastest dog for the team, and Balto wins but is sabotaged by Steel and left off the team. Steel leads the team to pick up the medicine, but on the way back gets lost, and after Balto hears the news, he, Boris, Muck, and Luck are off to save the day. Unfortunately, along the way, they are attacked by a giant grizzly bear, but ladies to the rescue, Jenna comes out of nowhere to save Balto from being impaled, and after a few more scrapes of death, Balto is ready to continue the journey. Unfortunately, Jenna has been injured, and for some reason, Boris, Muck, and Luck all have to help her get home, and Balto continues on his own. Eventually, he finds the missing sled team and tries to help them get moving, but Steel won't let him near the medicine, leading to a dogfight. Even though Balto refuses to fight, Steel still manages to lose and falls off the cliff. After Balto leads the team and the medicine onward, Steel gets ahead of them and changes the marks Balto made along the trail. This causes Balto to become disoriented, leading to him and the medicine falling off another cliff. He gets all the press, but some white wolf angel spirit or maybe his mother appears and reminds him of his wolf heritage, which gives him the strength to drag the medicine back up the cliff and use his wolf sense to find the right trail. Steel arrives back in town and tells everyone that Balto went off a cliff with the medicine and everyone is dead. Back on the trail, things are starting to look up, so naturally everything starts to go wrong as they avoid falling off another cliff, escape an avalanche, and make it through a deadly ice cave. Finally, Balto and the team see Nome in the distance and get the medicine to the doctor. Steel is revealed for the liar he is. All the children are better, and Jenna finally gives Balto the dog equivalent of first base. Back in the live-action world, the grandmother and granddaughter have finally found the real-life Balto statue, and the grandmother thanks Balto for saving her. Okay, now before we get into my thoughts on the film, real quick, let's just address, this isn't a true story. When it says based on a true story, it's more they take an event that happened and make up their own version. There was a virus in Nome, Alaska in 1925, and a dog named Balto was the lead dog in the sled team that delivered the medicine to the town. However, his team was one of many other sled teams which transported the medicine in a relay. Balto just happened to be the lead of the last group, kind of. There's a lot of details I'm not going to get into. It's actually quite an interesting story, but for the sake of this video, we're just going to forget about historical accuracies and just judge it as a film. A film which I think really holds up. Oh my goodness, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. And there's three main things I want to talk about: the animation, the story, and the characters. First, the animation is gorgeous. They really take advantage of the setting and produce some phenomenal backgrounds. The character animation as well, I think, is on par with what Disney was putting out at the time. And the big thing I noticed on the rewatch, the way they draw and light this medicine is so cool. I mean, it's basically portrayed as gold, which to an adult maybe seems a little obvious, but as a kid, I think it was important to get across just how important this stuff was. Medicine is not something kids are going to get excited about, so they had to make it look very appealing. What better way than to make it literally look like gold? Another big animation moment that stood out to me was the way this water was animated. It was terrifying. It's tinted in such a way that it looks like black ink that's sucking Balto underneath the ice. It's so creepy. This whole scene, I remember, always stressed me out as a kid. Yes, it's short, but it stayed with me. And speaking of this scene, as soon as that bear popped up, memories just flooded back. And that's about all I've got for the animation. It's not really my area of expertise. If it looks good, I really like it. So now the main meat of my thoughts, the characters and the story, and really most of my thoughts on this film revolve around the characters because the story is very bare bones. It's a simple go get something, bring it back, obstacles along the way with pretty much no subplots. I guess maybe what's going on in the town could be thought of as kind kind of a B plot, while the medicine journey could be thought of as the A plot, but they are so interconnected, it all just feels like one straight line the characters weave in and out of. I do think it did a great job in making the importance of the mission clear to a younger audience in a not talked down to sort of way. It cleverly gives all the exposition about the disease through the dog's perspective, so it doesn't feel like the movie is sitting us down and telling us, here's what's going on and why you should care. It feels like we're trying to find this out along with Balto and Jenna. Also, it gets dark. The urgency of saving these kids before their time runs out is very much felt through a few details. One is the lamp. The lamp being the physical representation of hope is a little obvious, but does give a good way to visually show the progression of the town's desperation. And then this scene. I remember this scene, but I don't remember ever understanding it, and I'm not sure my parents were eager to explain it to me. So it was interesting watching this because I remembered something was being built and it was sad, but I had no idea what it was. Now I do. And writers, what the actual F. So yeah, while the story is simple, there are a few more complex elements which are relayed to the younger audience in a very adult but still understandable way. And I think it's handled very well. And because the story is so straightforward and requires not a whole lot of exposition, the characters get more time to be explored. Balto is a bit of an insert, outsider, nice hero type character, but he is perfectly serviceable. Kevin Bacon does a good job with his voice, and once we do get to the final third after he meets up with either the ghost of his mother or his actual mother, I don't know, his determination and bravery through mostly just facial expressions is so cool to watch. I didn't really notice this until I rewatched it a second time, but he doesn't really talk at all after meeting up with his mother. Maybe it's kind of a contrast with Balto taking action while Steel is all talk, which we will get to Steel, trust me. And what's a hero without a dame? Now, Jenna is not in this as much as I remember. I'm not sure what the total screen time is, but it's pretty low. But what little she does have is used pretty well. Even though Jenna doesn't get a whole lot of moments to shine, the few she does give her great character. From her first interaction with Steel, we get obvious distaste, and then from the second interaction, we see it's not just distaste, it's hate. Like, she wants to hurt this guy, and she does. And her relationship with Balto, despite not having a whole lot of time spent showing it, I completely buy. The way they interact does have a natural chemistry, like they grew up semi-together but kept apart. Kind of like the Fox and the Hound. However, I'm not a fan of what they did to her in the second act. I'm fine that she got hurt in the fight and couldn't finish the trip with him, but I don't love that because of her, Balto had to go on alone. I wish there had been some better reason why at least Boris had to go back. Maybe if he was also hurt in the bear attack and it was up to the bears to bring both him and Jenna back. As is, it does kind of make Jenna out to be the damsel in distress who takes resources away from the hero when he kind of needed them. And that is not what was built up in the first act. She was very confident and took care of herself, and now all of a sudden 3 people need to bring her home when the bears clearly were more than enough. And speaking of the bears, let's talk sidekicks before we get to the main villain. On the hero side, Boris, Muck, and Luck, I enjoyed them. I can see some people thinking they're annoying, but for me, it never crossed that line. Although Boris is pretty obviously trying to be a genie-type character with some out-of-place pop culture humor moments, not all of which hit, he does have a very genuine side which comes through, in some moments with Balto, some moments with the bears, and especially this moment.
So, let's go get the medicine.
The bears have a little less depth, with their main thing being that they learn how to swim, and also they kind of come out of nowhere. I guess it's a thing of misfits flocked together, and they were ostracized from their pack, so they joined Balto and Boris. I don't know. But the comedic timing with their delivery, I found pretty good, so I assumed they were played by a comedian. On first watch, I was thinking maybe Eric Idle or one of the other Pythons, but it's Phil Collins. Surprise, surprise. Now I am aware that Phil Collins apparently has a lot of hate against him. I'm just aware of it. I don't actually know what the hate is about.
Trust me, no woman can truly love a man who listens to Phil Collins.
By the way, watch that movie, it's so good. But I thought he did a good job with these voices. They were very cute. Also very cute, these three. These three I absolutely loved as a kid. I don't know if other kids did this, but me and my brother loved acting out scenes from movies together. And these scenes were quoted and acted out all the frickin' time. And guess which one I always was? I think he just wanted an excuse to fake knock me out on the head, but I remember having a lot of fun with it. And aren't they just a perfect counterbalance to the evilness of Steel. And now we come to the section in our show where we appreciate the amazingness of Jim Cummings. Seriously, this is an incredible performance, and yes, the animation has quite a lot to do with it. Every single expression and pose this guy has is just evil incarnate. And his voice fits the animation so well. How is this guy so good? If you listen to it, this voice he's doing is not so different from Tigger's, and yet it's horrifying because of the performance. Further cementing the fact that voice actors don't just do silly voices, they are also amazing actors who should voice major characters in animation all the time. And along with this praise for Mr. Cummings, I also want to give praise to Steel as a character. He is a really great classic villain. It's pretty amazing because even though he has absolutely no redeeming qualities, you could still kind of see the possibility of a sympathetic backstory for him. Like, he was a natural sled dog and was given ultimate praise his whole life, and that messed up his perception and turned him into a self-centered egomaniac, and all he had around him were just yes men. It's very Gaston, just 3 LeFous instead of 1. And I really love the scene where his quote-unquote followers finally realize the kind of person or dog he actually is. Cause before, it was obvious that they knew he was an asshole, but none of them had the balls, maybe literally, to stand up to him until they finally realized, wow, this guy's not just an asshole, he's straight up psycho. Cause really think about what he was doing. I know I compared him to Gaston, but he's way, way worse than Gaston. Gaston actually thought he was doing something good. Yeah, the whole locking up Belle's dad was a dick move, but when Belle comes back talking about the beast and showing what he looks like, that guy's kind of scary, and it does make sense why Gaston would want to get rid of him. On the other hand, Steel would rather let children die than let someone else get any amount of glory. First, he puts the medicine and everyone in his team in danger when he refuses to admit that he needs help. Then he completely freezes when they need something more than brute strength, showing how incompetent of a leader he is. And then when help does show up, he can't summon even the slightest amount of humility to admit he can't do it alone. Now, I do think that there is a term for someone like Steel that is used quite a lot in today's culture. I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to accidentally summon the people who this term applies to and give them a reason to send me hate comments. I very much do not have a thick skin, and I will cry if this happens. So let's just say I had some interesting thoughts when watching Steel, which mostly revolved around he reminds me quite a bit of some of these famous people who I see online a lot, and also some people I work with. Also, this is a bit of a weird thing, but I really liked how the credits were done. I'm not sure if other animated films have credits like this, but instead of listing the cast first and then going into the animators and tech people, each character team is listed together. The voice actor, animators, character leads, and supervisors all grouped together under the character's name. I think that's really cool. And that's about it I got on Balto. Overall, I really liked it. I think the animation should be praised just as much as Disney movies at the time, and this villain should be studied for how evil he is. I've got a few more of these lined up along with some more Flintstones compilations, and let me know your thoughts on Balto in the comments below. Again, thank you so much to my fellow freaks for watching, and I'll see you next time with something else. See y'all later.